most need it so that we can be. Yes, Anibet, thank you very much. You say you can hear us. Thank you for that. Thank you for that comment. Really needed that. So that's fine. So yes. So a little bit about Hanifa. So Hanifa is a strategic communications advisor at the Policy Innovation Center. She supports the design and implementation of the organization's communication strategy across programs, campaigns, and policy engagement. She also provides strategic guidance on messaging, on framing, and narrative development to advance PIC's mission. That's the Policy Innovation Center. Prior to joining PIC, she contributed to high-profile initiatives, including the EU-funded Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Programs, the EU-UN Spotlight Initiative Project, and the NESG PIC Gender and Inclusion Summit. Of course, you can see that she's a development communication specialist. So I am really happy about that because we're now going to be talking, this session is going to be focused on strategic communications in the development sector. And we have somebody with a lot of experience. So Hanifa, just get ready. Have your questions and your comments. This is interactive. If you are joining live, make the best of it. Tell us where you are joining us from, which country, which state, whatever. We welcome you and give you a shout out and post and make sure your comment shows. So she has also supported organizations such as Rain Barrel Communications, Data Fight, AC, Charity Africa, contributing to advocacy communications and social impact initiatives. Those of you of us or you who are in corporate communications, you know that this is very different. But I believe that there's some of development communications specialists either on the session right now or who will watch later on. So Hanifa has completed 2 of our trainings in SA&A, strategic communications, as well as the issues, crisis and reputation management course. Both are credited by the CPD Standards Office in the UK. And she's currently pursuing a certificate in public leadership and policy at the School of Politics, Policy and Governance. She has also completed coursework in behavioral insights and public policy. Are you listening? I hope you are listening. I'm deliberately reading this profile so that you cannot listen, including programs by UNICEF at the University of Michigan. I was reading this program, and what I like this profile, what I liked about Hanifa's profile is it shows she's an example that illustrates what I always say. You cannot wing communication. See how I don't want to talk too much, but there's so many things. I can see the intentionality. Strategy comes with us, issues, crisis, and reputation management with us, policy, going to School of Politics, also learning about behavioral insights, which is very, very important. So she's beginning to develop her competence in behavioral communications, which is key in the development sector, despite the fact that she has a day job in this space. So you are welcome. Can we give Hanifa a round of applause, please? Please give me a round of
Thank
applause.
you so much, Mel, for this. Thank you.
Welcome, Hanifa, to our spotlight on SA&A Cross Alumni. We are so happy to have you here. We are so honored and privileged.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here too. Thank you very much for the introduction.
So tell us a bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the people online. Let them know who you are.
I feel like you've done the introduction already. What's there to say?
Say your own.
Okay. Hi everyone. Thank you so much again, ma'am, for having me on this session. Like she has introduced, I am Hanifa BabaSadiq, a development communications professional. I think I've been working in this space since say like 2018. And I currently work with Policy Innovation Center. I've worked with a couple. I've worked on a couple of development projects, and I know I'm repeating what she has said, but if I'm to add or say something else to that is, if I wasn't doing all of this, or in some rooms I go to, I think foundationally identify as a creative first before anything else. That's like part of my identity. So yeah, that's it for the introduction for now.
Okay. So how did you get into communications? Let us know.
Yeah, this is a part where I say a very long story. But I think my very first experience working in the, let me say, marketing communication space was in 2018 as a digital marketing professional. I had interned with a fashion focused or oriented NGO, and it was focused on designing programs to support fashion entrepreneurs and help them to build their business better and all that. So that was like my very first contact. And at that time, it was just focused on using digital tools or digital platforms to advance that mission at that time. And I got exposed to that was the time Niger brand chicks courses were like a thing. And at that time, I remember my supervisor then, my employer introduced me to the course. I took courses on Instagram marketing, digital marketing, and that's when I've been on. I've been on social media, maybe not very active at the time. I know once upon a time I used to be on Facebook, and then I felt like, okay, no, it's not my thing again. And there's Instagram now, cool pictures. It's for millennials. Let's go on that platform. It's the it thing. But yeah, I think at that time I was still navigating, and I just would use it. I was using impressively, but I didn't really know the marketing aspect of it. I didn't know, oh, okay, I didn't know so much about advertising, paid advertising, and everything. And that was what that experience did for me, introduced me to the space. And I went further to take more trainings on digital marketing, and went further to work in even private. I had worked in a private like organization before I now majored into working with non-profits organizations. And over time, my role now expanded from just digital marketing alone to now managing communications for the organization. And I had to take on more trainings. And from the experience, I now knew that, okay, I had to just shift my lens from just beyond just digital alone, beyond just content writing, creating content. Oh, we're using Canva to do this, we're using that. We are I had to expand more to how to leverage all the other channels, and more importantly, how all of that works together to achieve the organization's objective. So that's how I ventured into communications.
I like what I'm hearing. Let me just, because I'm making notes, I put everything together. I really
Okay.
like this. I like this because what you've just described is how you've described a pathway from digital marketing into communications. That's what your experience has been. And I like how you've transitioned. So I want you to keep that. And if you are on the on this you are on the call, or you are joining this session, this live, and you have a question, I want you to pay attention to what Hanifa is saying, because the reason why we have this session is that I just realized that I'm very privileged that I meet all these wonderful men and women that pass through our courses, and I get to share in their experiences. And I think not many of us see how get to have the opportunity to learn how people grow through the profession. So she started off in digital marketing, just doing content creation in one space, and then with many steps. And what I noticed in what Hanifa said is that she kept on talking about, I had to do trainings, I had to do trainings. In your, as we're asking questions, I need you to explain, let people hear why you had to do trainings, because you said you wanted to expand because you already had a job. So what was it that the trainings was doing for you extra? Because I noticed that many people have that feeling that the experience is only on the job, and that everything they need, they get it on the job. But I keep hearing you, trainings, so how did that even happen? Who told you? Was it you that just felt on your own, I need training, or did somebody encourage you? And what impact has that had on your journey? Do you think you could have transitioned into main comms, like you said, leveraging on channels and seeing how everything comes together, which you will not know if you're only doing digital marketing? How did that happen? Tell me about that, please, or tell us.
Thank you very much, Ma, for breaking that down. Yes, training has been, self development, taking courses, taking training has been a very integral part of my journey. It still is today because the learning never ends. There's always something new to learn. And if you really work in a place that supports growth, you'll be challenged. You should be challenged, and you should want to, even if nobody's telling you to take the courses, you should be searching for courses or learning platforms to absorb more training from, so that you can perform better in your role, because that's only where great growth can come from. And for me, When I shared that the very first exposure I had, when I came in, I had, I described myself as a creative first. And that's because it's part of my identity. I have majored in different creative spaces, and I still consider myself, I mean, even what I do, there's still like a creative side to it. Working in communications requires a lot of creativity. So my first experience, I was able to take on that role because I had a fashion design background and I had pursued maybe like some sort of fashion business at the time. So, and that NGO was focused on supporting fashion entrepreneurs. So, the organization was looking for someone with that perspective. But so while I had that foundation, they also needed someone who could leverage digital. So that was even my first exposure. I had to take courses and then mentorship on the job. And then after doing that, I now found out that, okay, so there is a thing like this, digital channels, create content. I think I still have, I don't know, I still have access to the first Canva design I did. When I see it today, I laugh at myself. That was my first, but my employer believed in me, Mrs. Rukayat Giwa. Shout out to her. She believed in me and she saw even what I didn't see in myself at that time. She saw that I had the foundation. I have eye for design naturally. I'm a very visually oriented person. So at the time when I would, she just pushed me to, leverage that Canva, and I was always using it to create content. At that time, we were using to share content online and all of that. But just working in that space, I needed to deliver. I needed to deliver. And she pushed me and challenged me. Okay, we needed to do this. We needed to do this. Immediately after my engagements, I had to now go for like a full-on digital marketing training, and I did it following year, the next year, and then that's when I now got like further exposure into the digital marketing space. What does it entail? What is this about? I did one with Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They had like a German sponsored training then for youth, digital skills training. Different people majored in web design, different things, but chose digital marketing because of my foundation and the interest that I had already developed. And then I even went further to do another Facebook digital training. And that further deepened my experience in digital marketing. And then it didn't stop there again because with the experience, like I said, once you're staying on the job, once you're working in a space, if it's really a good, that's how you even really know that. When you're working in an environment, you need to ask yourself, what do I want this to do for me? And what do I want to take out of here? And am I growing as I'm here? And the growth can be even in a space of 6 months. Even as I've stayed here now in policy innovations, I'm not the same person that entered in January or resumed in January. So my past experiences, I had a lot of challenges I had to face, and I had to. It was only training, it was only curiosity. Most of it were really self-led, to be honest. I knew that, okay, there was a gap here. I needed to get the training on it. And for context, I studied biology in school. I'm a full science student. So I, I was hunting for knowledge, hunting for everything I needed, but I knew that I had the foundation in me. I was very creative. I also picked things very fast. And with the experiences, I knew that, okay, I just had the foundation and I needed to continue to build and expand my horizon.
I think what I'm getting out of this, the keywords that are popping up in my head, thank you for that, is curiosity, creativity, willingness to learn, and being self-led in your training. That's self-led. Because what I have observed is many people are waiting for somebody else to help them do what they should do. And yes. Anyway, let's leave it at that. So next question. How is development communications now? So see you started from fashion designing. Just look at this journey. And then
I'm
you
still
got
a
into
designer, by the way.
the designer. Okay, that's good. And then she now did digital marketing, then
Yes.
comms, and then you now. How did you end up in development comms?
Okay, my development comes, can I pin it to a year? I would say that one of the experiences that really shaped my foundation in development comes, even if I had worked in another NGO or one or two NGOs prior, is working. I think it happened in the last 4 5 years from 20, so it's safe like in 2022. I got thrown into the deep end of development comms. I had to, the people I was interfacing with were like economics, researchers, people that do a lot of social research, economics, economists, data analysts, and even media oriented professionals as well. And at that time, what the mandate for the organization was, to focus on social research for development. And I was tasked with the responsibility of interacting with those materials and also making it easy to engage with for the audience. So what that meant was that I needed to really understand what is all this technical jargon. Like then I remember I would sit with some of my colleagues and I'm like, so when you say this, there's a rise here. Like I was very sometimes I feel internally I feel like I know maybe it might feel like this person is coming to ask me a very mundane question or stupid question, but I didn't care. I would take that shame and just go and sit and ask. And prior to that, I had also worked with another NGO, and most of it there's a lot of need for storytelling. There's also a lot of need for selling initiatives, courses that really would impact people's lives. And what that also required from me was to also understand development sector as a whole, like what is social development, and when it comes to like policy, when it comes to governance and all of that, what does it entail? I needed to really understand how we all connect before I know how I could use communications to drive the objectives. And so for back to the question, I think I deepened my expertise in the last 4 5 years. My early years gave me that very foundation, but I deepened my expertise because my role required me to read research papers, short analysis, and I kid you not, I think I in 2022 I would say that I read, maybe if I'm not over exaggerating, I had to interact with like 50 plus articles, if not more. Maybe I'm just underestimating the number. Like I will read every single thing. And what that meant is I was exposed to different facets of development or issues in development sector, in health, in education, in what other sector can you think of? I was exposed to a lot of information that I had to even understand before I created content for Communicate. That was like one aspect that I know that it transformed me. After that first year in 2022, I knew like, okay, I'm doing something different. I've done something different. I've expanded my lens, and that was just one even facet of the role. The other facets of the role, because that was more content synthesis and breaking it down in a way that we could in the way that was friendly for social media platforms and for the audiences that we're also trying to reach. But another facet was of that role also required me to, really expand my lens in comms in general. And that was how I also like, okay, I needed to learn more about issues and crisis management. I needed to learn media relations. I needed to learn this and that. So, yeah, that's how I got into development and communications. But to answer the question specifically, I think the question is how is it different, or how did I get to
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
How is it different?
How is it different? No, so you talk about how you've gotten into it, which was my own
Yeah,
add into it. But then the
yes.
next part is how is it different from corporate comms and other types of comms that most people are more familiar with? Or
Okay.
and marketing comms, for instance, which is selling things or creating demand to sell.
Yeah, I think for other types of marketing, for like say maybe when you compare with corporate comms, I mean, it's really for development converse. I mean, communications. You're really trying to answer the question: how can we use communication to impact people's lives? How can we use communications to shift mindsets, to shift behaviors, to shift systems. And if you have like an initiative that is supposed to reach XYZ people and um, you it requires engaging at the community level, you have to be intentional about the messaging, how you engage with them. You also have to, and there's a heavily research component to it by the way. And then it is also in, oh, okay, there's a campaign that we're trying to run to shift people from A to B, or to get more voices on a particular initiative to influence XYZ. That component is now advocacy. So for development comms, you're really answering how can we use communications to impact people's lives, to shift systems, to shift mindsets, to shift behavior. So you're talking a lot of participate, I mean, community engagement. You're talking a lot of maybe social and behavioral change campaigns. You're talking a lot of advocacy as well, as opposed to the other type of comms, say like in corporate comms where, oh, we have this product, we offer this service, and we want to sell it. It's profit oriented, it's profit driven. You're answering the question, oh, how do we use communications to make more money for the organization? I would say, depending on the mandate of the organization, though, apart from the social impact lens, as a communications professional in a development organization, you're also answering the question of positioning for the organization and how you're able to use communications to position the organization in a way that donors, the potential donors, can see that these are the right partners we're supposed to work with. People are able to connect with your work properly, and you're just positioning right for your target group. So for corporate organizations, you're talking of maybe a specific product and positioning for people to see the value in it and buy it. But for development comms, depending on the mandate, apart from the social impact part of it, that's the words you're delivering to the people. You're also thinking of a lens that is supposed to deliver for the organization and attract the right stakeholders for the objective that's been set.
Thank you very much for that. I think, first of all, let me unpack a little bit of what you have said because I think it's quite important. Um,
Yeah.
this is right. So, first of all, you talked about the fact that I like how you talked about sitting with colleagues. That's when you started with the question about how you got into development comms. You
Yes.
have to sit with colleagues to understand the technical side. Is everybody listening? And I'm going to be highlighting what is similar across professions. If you're a comms person, you're supporting health, you're working in a hospital, you're working for an engineering firm, you're working for the oil industry, you're working for a bank, it's the same thing. You have to sit down. I see what a lot of comms people, they come in and they just, particularly those social media handlers, those ones, I don't even call them comms people, because they just come in and they want to repeat what they did for somebody that was selling human hair for you that is in a professional service firm. As in, they don't even, they're not interested. They just they don't even have, so for me, I'm like, you cannot do, which is what, anyway, let me, so just let's just put a footnote on that. You
Yes.
have to, I worked in in the oil industry for many years. Exactly what she's saying, that's what I did. Now I speak the language because I had to sit down and ask people, how do they produce oil in the terminal? What's terminal? What's wellhead?
Mm,
What's the difference in
yeah.
exploration and production?
Mm,
You know, I had to be asking, all hydrocarbons, what is it? What is associated gas, non-associated gas? Because
yeah.
I'm supposed to be communicating about these things, and I don't even
Yeah.
understand the terminology.
Mm.
That's that. She also talked about reading 50 articles. Oh, Father.
Close to 100, ma'am, if I'm not. I'm being
Articles.
modest when I say 50
You have
because
to tell
in
me.
a month, let me do the math. In a month, we had like four data analysts, and I think in a week they will produce an average of 3 to 4 stories. If you do the maths, in a month, that means the four analysts produce an average of 12 stories in a week. And those 12 stories have to be promoted. I was the person that had to sit with it, and I had to call or sit with every single one of them. And I did that for a year plus, or even 2 years, I would say. So maybe like in the place that I worked at that time, the organization had expanded. I was the pioneer comms person. So over time, I had to expand and get more people to work with me. But that rigor that I exposed myself to, I never remained the same. I did not.
And to be honest, I understand that. That's why you transitioned, because that's the only way to
Yeah,
do comms. That's the only way.
yeah,
In fact, I don't want to unpack too much on that, but I can imagine they wrote these stories technical. You then had to break it down into sound bites and personal short
yeah,
stories that you can then put on.
yeah,
So the translation, most people don't even have that. Very few people are able to do that translation mediation. Oluwa Fumilayo Ajala, thank you for joining us. I've seen your comments.
yeah.
Thank you. If you have any question for Hanifa, please share. But I know you're very much in the space. So, but any question, we appreciate your comments. For anyone, if you have any questions, please send it to us so that we can also take it as well. Thank you so much for joining us. You had promised to, and we're glad to have you here live. So you also talked about so you said that helped you deepen your expertise. Of course, that would. And then the difference between development comms and others, you said in development comms, we are the question we're asking, and I like that. Do you know, when Hanifa talks, I can tell the trainings she has gone through is just coming out. It's because that's the thing. You have to ask a question. You don't just come into communications. There's for every communications, there is something. There's a question. It can be a question about
Exactly.
an agenda. What are we trying to achieve? What problem are we trying to solve? What are we trying to do here? It's not they just want to be on social media. I just say you should set up Instagram, let us just post. That's not a question. So she said the question is, how do we use communications to shift mindsets, behaviors, systems, change people's lives, and all of that? She said there's also a heavy research component in that. That's true, because you have to do audience research, stakeholder research, community research before you can begin thinking about shifting behavior and mindset. The point I'm trying to make is that even this part that she says is different. If you're a big player in corporate communications, there comes a time when you need to shift people's mindset about your brand. But if you do not know that communications is able to do that, you will continue to be doing that viral buzz influencer driven thing, not knowing that there's a more strategic approach to communications. So even in that space that she talked about, it is possible for you to use that same concepts and principles in corporate communications. For instance, there's some sectors within Nigeria that have a bad rap. There's a particular company right now that I don't want to mention their name in the telecom sector that is having issues. They need to change that mindset, and PR will not
Yeah.
cut it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So they have to they have to develop a strategic communications plan over a period of time. They're going to research into the different audiences, what's the issue, and think about how they can move. First of all, what are the orthodoxies that people have about us? How do we move them? But I don't think that doing it that way. They think they can hold one event, do a Q&A, and that will solve the issue. Well, I shall not mention their name, but those of you that are current, you know who I'm talking about. So the second word, where she talked about brand positioning, how you position the NGO. I'm so glad Hanifa talked about it. And honestly, PIC is really blessed to have you, because I don't see a lot of NGOs doing this. I don't see this brand positioning piece. I think many of them think that it is only for corporates, because truly, if you're not positioning your NGO, whether international, institutional, or whatever, you can't attract the kind of attention that you need. So for me,
Yeah.
this is an area that cuts across all sectors of communications, even public institutions. I don't see many of them positioning themselves. Although maybe that's for strategic reasons, or because they know they want to make sure, you know what I mean. They don't want to be out there. But to be honest,
Yeah.
that's why there are some ministers, for instance, in the federal, we don't even know them, because there is no.
Yeah.
I don't even know. There's I know the people that I know. I know the Minister of Aviation, because he has positioned himself, his office. In
Yeah.
fact, we are overstimulated with
Yeah.
content from them.
I think that, sorry, but to just quickly add to that, I think that, and I dare say that even in the corporate space, people always live in this bubble where they feel like, because what I am doing is so great, or the product I have is so great. Or in the development space, it is, oh, we're doing something so impactful, and
Yes.
automatically everybody should just know. You don't tell your stories the way you should tell it. You're not doing that long term work that you're supposed to do to position yourself right. And I would say, like, even in the public sector counts too, for public figures as well. And like, oh, I'm so great. My work will speak for me. And there are like different lenses and applications to this, even individually as a professional. I'm so great. I do good work. And the part about being intentional with communicating to position yourself right, I think that every organizations and individuals live in that bubble, and it doesn't help anybody.
You are so spot on. So spot on.
Yes.
So what have you learned about strategic comms in development sector? Like, what are your reflections at this point where you are that you think would be useful to share?
A combination of the things I had said. I think, and you gave an example with the social media person that sells hair, and because, and I think it's applicable to all sectors again. But what I learned, I didn't know how much of technical knowledge I needed to deliver on the role. Like it was getting into now saw gaps because I just hated that I couldn't connect to what is being done. And then another part of it is agency. I needed to be able to equip myself or empower myself with the knowledge and information to be able to have that agency to make decisions. Because when I got into the very technical space or the role that demanded me to really make key decisions on content, I knew that I was so reliant on the technical people, and not to say that even today I do not need them, but there's a level of agency that doing technical training. This is why it's part of the reasons why I am pursuing. I did like a public policy course. I learned behavioral insights. I am still pursuing the leadership training at SPPG. I want to, that's something that I have learned because yes, there's the strategic approach to communications that can be applied anywhere. And I think it's just even basic, or as it's expected that anywhere you fit in, you should try to understand what you are doing. Like you said, for your own experience too, you had to act. But I think that for me, I have broader interests anyways, which is why maybe I'm also deepening my knowledge in those areas as well. Because agency was also very important for me. I don't want to I want to be able to understand the work and also communicate it in a way that works for what is being said. So that's one key lesson that I learned working in development space. If you had asked me how many years ago, I did not know I would be doing a public policy course or a public leadership training, or what's the other part of it? Some other the behavioral insights and all of those things. So, and then another lesson for me would be that yeah, let me just give it at that. I think that's a major lesson for me. Yeah.
So what was your when you because this is a conversation about strategic comms, and that's it's been very we've actually been going through the building blocks. Thank you. Your responses have been knocking out really important foundational stuff.
Yeah.
So what was your when you attended our own strategic communications course, what was your key takeaway? If there's more than one, say so, but if it's one major one, that's also fine.
Key takeaway. I think it's really the frameworks. For me, like I said, and I posted this morning. I posted one of the posts this morning that I just had a little reflection on from when I know I used to follow your page from a distance and to taking your course. And I said something that taking your course strengthened like my own voice in communication. And it really did that for me because I like I said, even from my very early experiences, I know that a lot of things I was doing was very instinctive. And thankfully, I was surrounded by, I had a supervisor that saw certain things in me. I knew that I had the foundation to build on. Over time, there's just this thing with Yes, you know you're doing well. Yes, you know, like, oh, it comes well, but I still needed like formal training. I still needed more reference points and even following your work from afar. Really, there's a time I used to dissect, like I would sit with your post and read and reflect every single post, almost everything. I would sit or your articles, your videos. I've got to your YouTube page as well to, I mean, engage with a couple of videos because what that did for me is, like I said, that word strengthen my own voice in communications. When I am engaging with like a brief or even just sharing my ideas, those frameworks, the messaging framework, even was it even in the issue and crisis communications where there are also like there's also like a framework for how to even draft like those messages sometimes because it's those frameworks that can help you to no matter how big or cumbersome that situation is, you know that okay, context, care, your message should address these four pillars. So, but for me, if you're in that situation, your mind will be spinning well. Like, how can I even draft a message that lands? Okay, that's why we just see certain things that online where we even still scrutinize. I'm part of another communications community where we'll come and scrutinize and say, this message, they just acknowledge this thing, they just did this. And then instead of salvaging the situation, you even worsen it because you did not say the right things or the things that you're supposed to say. So yeah, just having those reference points from a veteran, of course, and engaging in that training, it was a lot for me. Really, really strengthened my voice. So those were like my key takeaways: the frameworks across with the strategic comms course, the issues crisis, and reputation management course. Those frameworks, it makes it easy, and that's what differentiates. The thing about AI today, and that a lot of people complain about and say, "Oh, AI is going to make you if you don't challenge yourself, it's going to cause brain rot because you're not thinking. The foundation of it, if you have it, you will do your first draft. You know what you're aiming for. Even if AI does something, you know where to critique from, you know what is missing. So that's it for me.
Absolutely. In fact, on that AI aspect, I'm going to do a whole, I have a lot to share because I have been working with AI, I've been dabbling with AI, and I can see the strengths and the limitations, and they are there. So, but that's a separate conversation. But I like what you talk about strengthening your voice. I also appreciate what you say about frameworks, and thank you. And your Hanifa is so right. Hanifa, like, in fact, she said she was dissecting, but it came to a point that I myself knew this person was following me because, I would see her comments, I would see everything, and it was just really nice to watch. And I have seen her grow even from a distance over this period. So I can testify to how her just being curious and inquisitive and deliberate. My even having her here today for me is a personal testimony even for myself because I know the conversation me and her had at the beginning. And if I do remember,
Yes.
I remember that conversation, So,
Yeah.
but when she's talking about the framework, she's right. Even for me as a leader at my stage, sometimes I get briefs from clients that is so confusing, the complexity of the situation. But at the end of the day, when your head is spinning, like she said, you just look for the framework. The framework will just reveal to you what you need to do. At least you will your processing time will be reduced, and it's much easier. So I really a lot when you are not trained, it's obvious. There are certain settings you will get into. You people will know that you are not trained. You just know. And comms is like that. Like me, I've been many times. I'm because I do consulting. I'm called into a situation where they say, some of my clients want to hire people to do agency work, and they put me in the room, and I'm part of the technical people. Those people will think I'm working for the client. They won't know that I'm a consultant. By the time they come in, one or two things they say, I can already tell this one cannot do this job because even the language of comms, they don't have it. They've been winging it, and because you are working with people who don't know better, it's okay. But you don't want to bring that to high level corporate. Sorry, it cannot fly. It can't fly. So anyway, so okay, so then I think you've already answered this question. My next question was that why did you attend the SA&A course? Well, you've already more or less told us your why, which is you
Yeah.
needed more, you needed to really get in, and that,
Yes,
so
and I was receiving long distance learning by reading your post. Like it was enough. You're already deepening my
exactly.
interest.
So
So
why did you come for the training? That's the question. Because if you're already getting it through the,
no,
why
those ones were just they were just
snippets?
yes. I needed the in thing, and I had to come, and it confirmed my expectation. And like my expectation was just right. It was so on point.
Oh,
Honestly, it brought a lot of clarity for me for my work. And again, I'll use that line. It strengthened my own voice in communication. Yes.
and you see that word you said, it's amazing. Some of the things you say, I marvel at them because your voice, as a comms person, it is when you have a strong voice that's when you are actually started practicing comms. If you are not able
Hmm.
to speak and everybody keep quiet, you have not started, as in you have not entered. If they are talking over your head, as in you are talking, they are talking you down, you
Yeah.
are not. Please go and meet Hanifa, ask her how she did it.
Because, but to add to that, like I still back to that example of social media for her. You know, like digital tools or the rise of internet and social media platform is a blessing to us as well. But what that also does, because compared to the days where it's easy to it has just sort of opened this gap where okay, I can do social media for my business. So people will just typically assume that is it not okay? Come and do communication. Anybody can do it. Anybody can do it now. Like, let's even within the organization yourself, people will just imagine that it's not just to write. I write. I have a blog. Somebody will tell you, I write. Like, I take pictures. I come and see, like, just all of those things. But it's a science and it's an art itself. There are methods to certain things, and if you don't get trained for it, you will just become another regular person that has a blog and is working as a communications person in an organization. There are methods to it, and if those people don't have, that's what differentiates you from the next person, really, because they feel like, "Ah, I can write. I've done this. And what are you doing? It's not just to craft. It's not just to write something. Please help us." Like there's this thing where everybody just assumes, and it's not social media, it's not Instagram. Someone will even tell you maybe when you are trying to even share some challenges or something, and someone will say, "Okay, I have, I run an Instagram page for my business and have been able to boost and do this. Like, is it not? Is it like there's this that is it not phrase?" So, engaging, taking proper courses, taking trainings, and that's why professional certifications and whatnot. That's what it does for you, really. It does for you. Thank you.
And thanks, Hanifa. And you're saying so much, and I'm really looking forward to the comments. Please, if you are watching and you're watching this and you're live right now, please just comment, share your experience. Olufumi has been sending us, Olufumi Laya has been sharing us a lot, and that's really been helpful. And I'm just beaming it on so that we can see. And she says, real life examples back to data and research is really necessary. Well, I'm not going to talk about, and I'm hampering on that because I do a lot of that. If you know how many hours I spend on the internet, because first of all, you will not catch me once, because anything that is going on in Nigeria, it concerns me. Whether it did not concern me, I am on it. Because if
Yeah.
I walk into a meeting, God forbid that they are discussing something that I have no clue about, even if I have no clue, maybe because it just broke that morning and I haven't checked. In fact, I remember when I was doing my 9 to 5 as comms manager, before I entered the office, I checked my Twitter feed, what's going on in the world. I never make that mistake because many times you pay for it dearly. When you advise leaders, you learn that the information in your head is not enough to carry you through, because those people, they are getting information from across the organization every day. What are you going to say that is going to trip them if all you know is what was in your head yesterday? So there's a lot of work that communications people want to do. But my question to you is, if you are comfortable being at the back, please remain where you are. But those of us that are not comfortable, we will do what it takes to make sure that in spaces where we are, it really does matter. And knowledge is a very critical currency for every communications person. So Hanifa, thanks a lot. So what is your biggest challenge? So we've talked about all the positive growth indicators and all of that. What
Yeah.
has been biggest challenge as a development comms practitioner, and how are you navigating it?
I think up until recently, where I think like I mean I'm fortunate to be in an organization where I work with people that understand the space and understand what it takes. The point I made earlier where I said it's easy for sometimes maybe founders and other internal stakeholders to just assume that we're doing great work. Like what we're doing is impacting people, is reaching people. But for your objectives, you have some targets. There's a way, there's a vision you have in your head, and you need budget to run it. That has always been like the when you're not trying to make a case, sometimes it's almost as if like we're doing social impact work where we're helping communities. Why should I spend this? Like people will find us, people know. Let's just keep sharing and making case for why you need to spend X, Y, Z. That has been a part that it almost feels like we can spend money on every other thing, but we can't spend money on communications. And to run campaigns, you're talking digital tools, you're talking even for whatever there's a budget part to it, there's an investment that needs to be made. And I get their concerns, I get the frustration. Sometimes they're looking for what's the return on investment if we invest XYZ. But another frustrating part of it is sometimes what you're measuring or the outcomes is not tangible immediately. It's like long term. This positioning sometimes it's difficult to explain, like positioning, and they'll sometimes rely, and that's where like I mean, proper reporting or sentiment analysis and all those things comes in as well because sometimes they rely on the feedback. Some leaders are objective. They know that because I have a circle of people that say they see us and know us does not mean that the people we're trying to reach know us. Some people as well rely just on that feedback when they say, "Oh, we don't see this here, we don't see it." That becomes like really feedback that they run with and don't ask the objective questions like the target people we're trying to reach. Are they seeing it? How are we able to measure and show results for that as opposed to people in my own immediate chambers echoing back to me and saying, and we don't see, I don't see, I see this. And so there's that part to it. It's almost like we can invest in everything else, but when it comes to a campaign that requires this, like, people don't have budgets. No budgets for you. So, yeah.
I'm so happy you mentioned this because this has been my perception of development comes, and I didn't want to pose it as a question. I wanted to see whether you bring it out, and you said it. I've noticed that because I worked in an organization that did, and it's not just in your own like majorly development comes sector. I worked in an organization, a major international organization that had a very big social impact section, and even the company as a whole, they were ready to pour any 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 amount that is required for that social investment because that is what drives their production and everything. But comes we will do like this. As in, they were not, in fact, they used to tell us we used to run comes zero budget. Have you seen that kind of thing? Zero. As in, that's why till today I know how to, even with my clients now, before I suggest for you to spend money for a campaign, I will first have exhausted all the opportunities for organic because that was how I was trained because they so squeezed us. But at the end of the day, it affected their brand. It caused them a lot of problems. Things that we were able to, we were not as, let's just say that we could have done a whole lot more. Let's just put, I will
Yeah.
just put it like that. You know what I mean? So even in that setting, I felt that a lot of a lot of the development companies, they even had contempt for comms. I can't. Some of my colleagues, I know they won't watch it, but those are they had no respect. Now that social media has come, they are annoyed, they are even upset that we are getting the kind of attention that we are getting, as in is vexing them. Do you understand? As in, so if you're a comms person and you're working in this space, you need to understand this because that sentiment, I see it all the time. I lived it. Many of them are my colleagues, but I see that till today, even when I get into a room with them, I can see that bristling, like, as in, I'm like, calm down. You calm down. We're on the same side here, So anyways, it is what it is. So,
Yeah.
but you have to, I mean, like you are navigating it. I think time eventually, I think when they see the case proofs. I mean, if a good example is Tunde, or I mean, Chess in the slums, before things, in the past, that was somebody that positioned his brand, even as a single one human being, and made it more or less a national institution simply by storytelling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, there are proof points, but there are very few people doing that. But I'll leave it as this is. So linked to that is, what do you wish you could change about the development communications practice in Nigeria today, if you could, and why? Apart from the budget issue, because that one you
Ah,
can't change.
this
Apart
one, I'm going to shake tables here.
from shake it, shake the table well, shake it.
To be honest, I haven't. This is something I've seen and observed from a distance, and I've also had like colleagues share frustrations with me. Um, it's really hard to streamline founders that are purpose led and want to build institutions, and building institutions in the sense that it's not just, oh, there's funding here, we just run it here. Oh, there's funding here, we just they want to build an institution that is purpose driven, has like a core, and even if they're going to evolve and adapt, it's going to be for a good reason, not just anywhere benefits. Because once that foundation is missing, every other person's job gets difficult to do. You, as a communications person, or you are thinking long term positioning and all that, but when mandate changes very quickly, and when you have founders that are just chasing the money, and really when you're thinking of we're thinking of building institution, building a system, and I'm even talking maybe operations internally now. You're thinking long term, you're thinking of how things can work, you're thinking of how things can even outlive you. To be honest, some founders, and that's why it's very important. I was very there was a time where I was transitioning between roles. I was very intentional about where I was going to go to next, because I needed to be sure that we have the same compass. I would not go into a space where I just opened an NGO today and just for the funds. I mean, I just want to get funds. I want to become the next Abuja big boy or Lagos big boy or Abuja big woman, Lagos big woman, because that foundation is very important. You need to your work will be very successful in an organization that is mission driven and has a core, and they are consistent. They have also good values. They're value driven. The founder itself is value driven, and they're able to build an organization that is value driven or value oriented as well. Because honestly, to be fair, like I said, I was going to shake tables. Some founders just wake up and maybe one connect here or there, and I have funding, and you're not even sure about sustainability in the next couple of years because of also how they're even implementing the programs that are collecting money from. So some if I was going to change something, it should really be how I wish that even funders, even other development partners are able to. I'm sure they do their screening, but just sometimes some people get away with it. If they're able to really scrutinize who they are funding or programs or initiatives that they're funding, some people it's just for selfish interests. And really, if I know there's a business side to it as well, but that passion to be able to want to do work that shifts the needle or move the needle for people's lives, that's very important. And you have to have certain values and an individual to go on that mission. So if I'm to change anything, it would be to deny those kind of other people access to those kind of funding. They don't deserve it, to be honest. They don't.
I think you really touched a very important point there, because you're also reminding me of my former work life too, when we would have a pocket of money, the social impact side, like I said, we were really doing a lot of stuff, education, health programs. It was almost like a mini, a lot of money. And just finding the right partners the NGOs to work with was a major challenge. Many of them were only after the money. You give them that funding, you are chasing them. So you are, in fact, you just reminded me of how it was. It was a major problem. A few that you would see that, you know, you could work with continuously over time. You could give them the funding and go to bed and it will happen. But most, you are micromanaging them through the phase. They're not. One of the things that it appears that they don't even, when they collected the funding, they really did not expect. They thought they are surprised that you expected them to do something. You understand what I'm saying? It's a big mess. It's a big mess. It's a big, and I think
And
the key word.
yeah. Okay, I was just going to say it just reminds me of something I also picked from the crisis and reputation management course about it's reputation management is really a combination of your performance, your behavior, and your communications. So still to drive that home, I mean, drive home that point to say, for me personally as a communications professional, I can't work with a wole organization where you're just there because
Just
that speaks so much to some can even perform, but behavioral wise, the values that are supposed to that's supposed to inform the posture of the organization is missing. And what I try to now communicate is supposed to influence people's perception about. So there are just some things that are foundational for me, and I think no.
I think, what I like about this conversation is that it's just making me really realize that there are unique challenges in the development space. I think it applies also in sectors in private sector, like tech sector too. It's a similar thing in tech, where some people just collect funding. You'll have gone there, built your whole life around them. Once they do their Series A or whatever they call it, they raise money. Before you know it, they're winding down. Founder has gone. They are owing you
Yeah,
money. Your equity doesn't mean anything, as in, you understand?
yeah,
So at the end of the day, and I think we comms people, we always collateral damage in such cases. So you really just
yeah.
need to be more aware about who you're working with, where you're working, and all of that. Is this a sustainable business? Are the founders committed to the long term, and how does that affect you? So finally, this is our last question. Anybody who has any comments? Oluwafumilaya has been sending a lot of comments. See her comments on budgeting, which way she said that they're ready to spend money on is that this is so correct. But you will fight for comms budget. Anyway, um
Exactly.
anybody in this space that you are struggling for budget. But I think for me, I just want to say on that point, and I know it's a long conversation. So, but I have a I think I've gotten to the point in my career now where if you're not willing to spend that money, please don't even call me. As in, I'm not even doing. But of course, I know if you're working as an employee, it's a different thing. But as a consultant now, there are certain, and I get that I sense that out very, very early. And once I see that there's that commitment is not there, I just remove myself. As in fact, what I'll just say, please, I'll just remove myself. So finally, Hanifa, bringing this to a close, we're actually out of time. So just I told you we'll go through. It will be exactly 1 hour now. So last question: what advice do you have for professionals seeking to enter or grow in development communications? So you can take it from the like people who want to enter newly, and then maybe that's fresher. I'm not in comms, but I want to enter comms, and then also people who are in comms but in another space in comms, and they want to transition into development comms. What advice do you have for them?
I would say that it's just be good to be honest with yourself. And I will still go back to this same example that you have a blog and you write is a plus, it's foundational. But that's not all that there is to communication. So just to be objective, be honest, because you have to tell yourself some truths before you are now you're able to open your mind to the fact that I need to upskill in this area, I need to upskill in this area. But if you think that, oh, I write on Medium and that is all that there is to it, you might not just grow. That might just be all you ever get to do within the space, really, right? But it's just a part of it. It's just there is a science. Although say there's a science to communications, and there's also an artistic part to it, the creative part to it, where the storytelling, all of those things. But where it becomes strategic is where all of these things come together, where you're intentional about it, and when you're paying attention to, okay, what's the method to this, how is this done, what do we need to do first, we need to understand the objectives, why are we here, what are we trying to achieve, what the people we're trying to reach. If you do all the wole it will always show in your results. So to summarize, you just have to be honest to yourself so that you can get the training that you need. That's what will separate you or differentiate you from the other person that also has a blog, or I keep using the example, but yes.
Oh, Hanifa, thank you so much. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for the time, for the nuggets that you shared. I can't wait for when we're going to share this and I can break down, create the reels. This app helps us create a little bit of reels. So some of the sound bites will come out and we'll be sharing that as we go along. Just to unpack a bit of what you said, be honest with yourself. And I think this is very good advice. Be true to yourself. I say this as well because I've seen a lot of people in comms. They come in here because they think it's easy, it's low entry, because comms doesn't put any barrier and say you must have this and that. And they come in and they are low effort. They just want to do low effort. And I'm like, look at all the other professions around you. Do you see any profession that does low effort? Is it HR? Is it law? Is it accounting? How do you think? And you want to be in the same world with them. These are people you went to university with. How do you think you will get ahead with low efforts? Low efforts will keep you at the bottom of the ladder. That's where you belong. So as long as you are doing low efforts, please don't be looking for high results. And for me, what I'm really happy about, and I'm really committed to doing, and God helping me, doing these spotlights on SA&A course alumni, because I realize that until we begin to show people what other people are doing, about 140 people have passed through our courses. Hanifa took two, even before she joined PIC. She actually took the training before this her current role. She prepared ahead of opportunity. But you are there waiting for opportunity to come and land in your lap. Who is going to pick you now? You're not ready. You're not prepared. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that honesty that she talked about, be honest with yourself. Self-deceit is the worst form of deceit. So talk to yourself. What are my gaps? What do I need? Where do I need to go from here to there? Talk to people who have been further down the road. How did they get there? There is nobody. I've started showing my process because I realize that if I don't show my process, people will believe that I was just lucky, or I just, that's how I got it. They need to understand that there's a process.
Yeah.
And now we are trying to show the process that others are also following. We are just a tiny footnote. Hanifa's story, we are just a small footnote. There's a lot she's doing. Reading 50 articles in a month, just to get credibility and trust. Do you know that people in our organization will respect her when they see she has done that? She enters the room, they will put whatever it is they are doing and they will listen to her because she has read what they have written. But you have not read anything. You want to be creating content. I am wondering why they're having meeting. They don't call you. Nobody's going to call you. Anyway, on that note,
Fair
I will
enough.
say
Yeah.
thank
I
you
just
so much.
want,
Yes.
yeah, just one minute quickly. I don't know the exact figures, so I'm always very careful when I'm quoting it. I know it's not 50 in a month, but I can say in the entire year I read more than 50, and that's still me on the. Maybe I will do the math after today, but it's not 50 in a month.
Okay, yeah, that was me being exaggerating, I know, but yeah. But then 50, whatever, even if it's 50 in a year, that's you're reading how many? At least you're
I'm
reading at
certain
least
it's
what?
more than that. Yeah,
So
I'm very certain it's more than that.
either
Yeah,
way, you are reading technical articles that is not entertainment, is not information, is not your core
yeah,
area, and you are
yeah,
trying to make sense of it, and then you are able to break it down into sound bites. So that's it. That's passion. That's interest. Again, which brings me to one differentiator between PR and comms people. A PR person cannot do this job, and that's why I keep separating the two. A PR
yeah.
person will not sit down to read 50 articles of technical paper. For what? You are a comms person, Hanifa. It doesn't mean you cannot do PRO, but you are hardcore comms. Hardcore. That's why me, I separate it. I separate it. I
Yeah.
don't bother, but because if you don't separate it, you recruit for the wrong person. So imagine now if you are like your boss in PIC needed somebody who can be doing this, and the person went to go and call somebody that likes events. It's problem.
Yeah.
Work is not
I
going to get done
see.
because the person cannot sit down and read 50 articles. So let's be honest. If you're the kind of person that you want to be in the field because you like to hold microphone, you like to attend
Mm,
events, you like to deal with media, then stay in the media space. Do PR. Don't enter comms. Anything you see job title with comms, unless the job description tells you that there's a strong PR element, stay away from it. I'm going to continue making those differentiations. I have a on the same platform page. We have a PDF that different shows difference in BP outcomes. If you have not read it, please go and read it. Next week we're going to talk about the similarities, and I'm going to continue on this on this part until we all understand that it is different. So, Hanifa, any
yes.
last final words before we close this down?
I mean, thank you so much for the opportunity to come here and share my story, my journey, and yeah, and thank you to everyone who has joined in so far. Thank you, Fumi, for your comments. I appreciate them. I've been seeing. Thank you, Mr. Chima. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And many thanks to you, Hanifa from SA&A. We're so glad to have this. And, I'm so glad that we have this recorded and we're going to share this. So, whatever happens next, I can say I spoke with Hanifa at this time in her career and she shared all this with us. So, thank you. And Chima, thank you for joining too. I think the question you are referring to, Mr. Chima, is about the budget, Abby. But well, like I said, that budget conversation, maybe we'll do a separate video and conversation about that. It's because it's a real problem, even in the corporate world, everywhere. The only people that I know that don't have this challenge are the people selling like retail, fast FMCG. They don't have this challenge that we have. Once they're not
Because
selling,
it's tangible products for them,
yes,
like
yes,
number
yes,
of X we sold, number of this.
absolutely. It's tied to what to sales of to the consumer. Anybody that is not doing that, you will struggle, as in you will do like this to get that money from them. So on that note, thanks everybody. See you on our next spotlight of SA&A course alumni. And you can see the if you want to join any of our courses, please do. There's a link in the chat, and then you can always just sign up and just send us a DM. Also, we also have our play on demand courses. So Hanifa, thank you so much for your time and all the best on your journey. Keep us, how would I say, keep us updated as usual. And I look forward to see you. Maybe in a year or 2 years time, we'll call you back again. By then,
Looking
you will have
forward
so
to
much more to
that.
share. Thank you so much, Hanifa.
Thank you so
Take
much,
care,
ma'am, for
everyone.
having me.
Oh,
Yes,
it's been
thank
my
you.
pleasure. It's been a wonderful session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.